After about 37 times of arranging and rearranging and moving shells and everything else, I think I'm pretty much going to stick with this configuration, at least for now. Here we are a couple days later, and I gotta tell you, it's funny. I bought the amp, and then I went ahead and I knew right away what I needed: the converter for the receiver, and I needed these Phoenix clips. Everything else has been done and installed, and there it sits for the last 3 days. The Phoenix clips have finally arrived, and I've gone ahead and I've taken this RCA here and I've converted it into these Phoenix clips, which just jump the ground here and put it in there for the unbalanced. And now it's time to go plug these dogs in and see if it works. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear the fan running now. But that's the only time I've heard it run, is when I've been up and jamming, in which case you're not going to hear it anyway. And as I said, you're also hearing this AC Infinity down here, which at the moment is blowing nothing but cool air. Like I figured, once I put the adapter in, it wasn't going to do any resistance to it, so it'd run cool as a cucumber. So it is doing what it's doing. Now this guy's getting a little warm, I will say. It's not hot to the touch. I mean, it's probably putting out about 80 degrees, 90 degree air, somewhere around there. And it has been a learning curve. I do have my gains down real low at the moment, just because this is the way I want to play. I don't want to start off real high and do something stupid, so we're just going to figure out what we got down at safe levels, and then we'll worry about going up from there. It is a different sound, I will give you that. There is a little playing around with some high tones and some things you don't really want there. But my Home Pro amp, I guess we could call it here, is working well. It seems to be no weird smells or nothing coming out of it. All the channels work great, and it fits fine there. It's not getting hot on the bottom. Of course, it's getting a little warm on the top, but there's a big gap there, so we're all good. And as I said, there's a learning curve to it. I'll figure it out sooner or later. I've only been playing with it for about an hour. Last night, when I first got it together, I had it on for about 20 minutes, and then I got a friendly reminder from the wife upstairs that other people live in this house. But for now, I got a chance to do this. So here we are once again, and it's time to fess up to a mistake. Been waiting on these guys all the way from New Zealand, and during our times we're having at the moment, that meant about 6 weeks. And what I've done is made a boo-boo in one of my first videos, and it was over these guys here. For the mid-ranges in the 3As, we used rheostats. These are 5 ohm, 15 watt potentiometers. Yes, the one and only 5 ohm, 15 watt potentiometer in the world, it seems like. So I have to get the rheostats out of my Infinities and replace them with these potentiometers. Let's go to work. So here we are back inside once again of our RS3As, and I'm willing to eat crow where crow is on the plate. I went ahead and I bought these rheostats. You know, they were 5 ohm, 25 watts, so it wasn't an issue on the wattage. It was just the actual ohm loads that we wanted to, you know, match up with the originals, which actually this one's an original. And as you can see, it's identical. I mean, it really is, down to the last numbering. I mean, even the numbering on the actual posts themselves, they're actually numbered 1, 2, and 3, and they're all numbered the same way on the new ones. But back to this guy here, I used this rheostat, and I gotta say, it worked fine, except at extremely low levels. Like, if I just had something playing in the background while I'm playing around on my computer and such, it sounded like there was a cracked speaker. And I mean, it was just slight, and I'd have to be sitting at my desk over here at the right angle, and I would just catch it out of my ear, and I would hear it, and it's like, you know, and it's my mid-ranges. I went over here and I fooled with this this rheostat a little bit, and actually if I adjust it a little bit, it would go away. I don't know a crazy lot about this electronic stuff to begin with, and I'm not really sure what these are for, but I would almost assume these are for more of like an electric motor or something of that nature, and not necessarily for audio equipment. And I went to Australia, actually through eBay, and I got these guys. It took about 6 weeks to get them here. And they're identical, as I said. I mean, this is an original. Besides that being stamped in the back, it's actually just printed on with ink. I mean, there's nothing different except for where it says Japan down here. On this one, a new one, it doesn't say that. I don't know whether they're made elsewhere now, and I really don't care, but these things are identical. And I'm going to go ahead, this is my second one I've already got installed now, which I'm very happy with because these leads right here is extremely short. So it being back in place and me being able to screw it back into the back of the speaker, I'm a very happy person. But I've got 2 more to go, and then I'm going to give them a test run. Got my old bag of parts here from my Infinities. I tend to keep everything. I don't care if it's bad or not, just so I got a reference to go back to. And trying to find some knobs here, and I ran across 2 of these guys, which apparently are what was used here, because I actually have 2 sets of RS3As. They apparently changed during the run from this one to this one. So if you have this one also, that's just I mean, Infinity chose to go with this guy. I don't want to see why you couldn't also. Alright, let's turn this down for a second so we don't get a copyright strike here. As you can see, I've got things all tore up all over again. I have to say, this amp puts out the best bass and mid-range, especially mid-range, I've ever heard. I am one that always loves to pull mid-range out of a set of speakers or an amp or a receiver, a whole combination. I'm just dumbfounded. I mean, I love it through this. It sounds live. It's really great. Notice I didn't say treble or high tones. One of the problems I'm having is like my new Infinity, I guess, satellite Emmett tweeters. You know, there's 4 of them guys in there. We've done this in other videos. They just disappeared with this amp. And I had them kind of like, you know, patched in through this speaker here. They would just feed it because they only take like 5 watts, so I didn't really think it was a big deal. But they didn't exist. I mean, it's like they just went away. So I've gone from running off of that speaker to feed the little tweeter. I've gone ahead and run separate lines off of my B speaker lines out of my receiver, which my receiver puts out about 100 whatever watts per channel. So I mean, these guys only take like 5 watts per speaker. The crossovers in them are good for RSAs, which are good between 50 and 150 watts a piece, so the crossovers are good. There's no problems there. And I think I've pretty much solved the situation because, as I said, now that I've got them plugged back into my receiver, they sound as good as they used to. So I got to give this guy, I don't know, a B. As I said, if you can separately amp or bi-amp your high tones into your speakers, which these guys aren't set up to do, which I think I could do, but I'm not going to bother with that nightmare. You'd be hard pressed to find a better amp than this QSC. I mean, this thing just jams, and I mean jams hard. And like I said, it's got such great tones down below, you know, the high tones. I mean, I really want to give it an A just because it smiles at these Infinities, which I've never had anything that actually smiled at them. So, you know, as I said, if it just could get the high tones right. Well, we're not happy with the results, so now it's time for some changes. Alright, ladies and germs, I know it looks like a hodgepodge of stuff, but to me, it is a new direction. One happens to be this Emmett face, which I've wanted to replace in one of my Emmett satellite tweeters for a long time, and just be able to find the face, because I didn't want to break up another tweeter, and I didn't want to buy another tweeter, but just actually find this on eBay, it's a good thing for me. The real reason we're all here is for this, this, and this. What you are looking at is the beginnings of bi-amping a set of RS3As. I mean, I really don't want to call it a failure. I mean, my amp does exactly what it's supposed to do. It just doesn't do the high end well, and I mean not well at all. So I have to make a change, and I really don't want to go back to the start again. As I said, I really like this amp. I like it the way it handles these 3As like nothing. I mean, it's not really worried about them throwing back some ohms at them. It's just they don't have the real high end that I like. And I've always liked the high end of my Onkyo, in which case it's going to go back to that now. But the way to do it is just to bi-amp the speakers. Why not? I mean, let the amp run the woofers and let the receiver run the high end. And the receiver really isn't the end game here either. And from what I understand, you know, the IRS-5s, which are the whatever, you know, the best of the best there, they are bi-amped. So I don't see any reason why not to do it. I don't think it's going to hurt the value and or longevity of the speakers. It may actually make them last longer and more valuable at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. It looks pretty simple. Just hopefully, fingers are crossed. Opened up the back of our Infinity RS3As, and they're kind of a simple design. What I did is I went ahead and I disconnected everything that was associated with the woofer, which is basically this, and that capacitor right there. Took everything off, found the only space available, installed 2 more posts, drilled them out, screw them all in place. Then I had some eyes that I needed to solder up, which I needed to put this wire, this capacitor, and the ground wire for the speaker into this guy here. And the positive that feeds this whole mess is right here. And that's pretty much my bi-amping experience, because everything else up here, everything on this side, these guys, all this is all related to the high end, the treble, and the tweeters. It's just this, and this. It seems to be the amp killer. So we're going to run all these guys off of our commercial amp, and then we'll run the rest of it off of basically our receiver, which is pretty decent amp. I mean, at 100 watts per channel at 8 ohms, it jumps up to 145. That's a pretty decent jump, which means it can handle some, you know, a load. But it couldn't handle these guys. So we're officially bi-amped. This is number 3. I got 1 more to do, then I got a lot of wiring to do, and we'll see how this works out. Before I finished up the post last night, I went ahead and I did all these wires. Nice 12 gauge solid copper. I don't know the whole solid copper and the tin copper. You know, I'm just going to go what everybody says to go with, just to be on the safe side. But that will be for the amp and the woofers, basically. That'll be 12s for those, and I'll use my existing 14 gauge solid copper to do the top end. Now I just have to take everything out and disassemble it all again, because the amp has the top wires that need to go on the receiver, and these wires need to go back there. All plugged back in. It's time for a test drive. Well, it's been a couple days, and I've gotten the bi-amping all done, and I've been pulling my hair out over this whole deal. Long story short, I'm basically back where I started. I'm sending the receiver into protection mode, so I have to flip the switch on the back, in which case this is the whole reason the whole thing started. Now I've been doing a little bit of experimenting back and forth and finding out what is the cause of the whole receiver doing that. And I noticed that it was getting hot, because it's only running the top end, and it's getting hot. And my Pro Amp up here is basically doing nothing. I mean, I'm checking to see if it's even on. You know, the fan may be broken or something, because there's like nothing coming out of it. So, to make a long story short, once again, I switched everything around. I made the Pro Amp run the whole top end, and I made the receiver run the bottom end, and of course the receiver is running cool as a cucumber. There is one benefit to all this nightmare of a mess. As I did notice, I like the QSC's top end if I can control it. And as I said, I've got the bottom end being run off the receiver. So the top end, I'm able to use the gains wherever I want to actually bring it up or down. That changes things. I'm not really sure which route I'm going to go at the moment. And for my troubles, I have a tweeter over here, it's not working. And it's not the tweeter. I don't know what's really going on with that, but the saga continues.